technical difficulties. Scott, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of The Life Between All or Nothing with Scott J. and Mary Kay. And Mary, you having a little problems with your voice still freezing up on you?
Yeah, you keep cutting out. Yeah, it keeps freezing up on me.
It keeps freezing up. Well, I've got my signal going, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
We're going to take a look here.
Maybe I'll try my wired.
Yeah, why don't you switch over and try your wired and then jump back in and see if that works.
Hi, everyone. I'll be right back.
All right. Hey, you know what? These things happen every once in a while. We end up with some difficulties. Karen is with us, and thanks for joining us, Karen. And, of course, the one, the only, the great Lynn Serrano is with us, and glad you're here as well. Usually I'm the one down in South Florida that's got internet issues during the show, but I guess we've got some issues up in Canada, too. God knows, what system they use up there, but we're here with The Life Between All or Nothing to talk about, and today we're going to be talking about happiness and finding your happiness and what exactly that all means. We talk about this, and it sounds a little bit silly sometimes. Let me pull her down for a minute while she sets up. And okay, you should be with us now. What do you think? You with us?
I'm with you. I can hear you.
All right, fantastic.
I think we're good. Yeah.
Thanks. We're good. I was just saying.
Hi, everyone.
Usually I'm the
Sorry
one
about
who has all sorts of internet problems, but hey, even up in Canada, you have issues too every once in a while, sir.
Oh yeah.
So I was just Mary Kay. I was just explaining to the audience why we spend time talking about things like finding our happiness and what makes us happy and knowing yourself. So many people spend so much time trying to learn everything in the world except the one thing that really matters most, and that's who you are and what makes you tick and what makes you happy.
Yeah.
How many people go into relationships because they think it'll fulfill them, but they still know nothing about themselves? So basically, it's like you've got one human being trying to live for two people because the other person doesn't know enough about themselves.
That's a really good point. Definitely a good point. Yeah, we must know ourselves. Know what we have to work with. That's how I always put it. I got to know what I have to work with in me so that we create something together.
Let me see. Mom is with us. She says, hi, everybody. It's Sandy.
Hi.
While you were away, Karen joined us and Lynn joined us. And,
hi, Karen and Lynn, everybody.
Lynn says 99% of people do this. They look to find themselves in other people instead of looking inside themselves. But we're not talking about this like we were born knowing who we are and we've always done this. Mary Kay and I will put it out there. We've both lived lives where we have not spent enough time getting to know who we are personally. Am I right on that, Mary?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, that's one of the benefits that comes with being in midlife or beyond is that we've accumulated a ton of stuff, a ton of data. We're full of the data of everything, every moment, every experience, every, good experience and some of the ones that weren't so good. And we bring that all with us. And that's what we're equipped with right now. And that's what we've got to work with. So, yeah, we can use that to make changes.
Absolutely. It's as simple as this. If you walk into a Baskin Robbins, there's 31 flavors. If there's 31 flavors of ice cream. I know, ice cream. 31 flavors of ice cream. Now, you have people that'll walk in and they'll take a quick scan just to see what's available. But they pretty much narrow it down to, I like this flavor, I like that flavor, I think I'll have this. And then you have other people who can stand and stare. And no matter what they choose, they're never quite happy because they still don't even understand what they like and don't like. That's just a very oversimplification. And how annoying is it to stand behind somebody who can't choose? You know, maybe you shouldn't have gone to Baskin Robbins. Maybe there's too many choices there. Maybe you just need to go buy some Neapolitan ice cream with the chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla, and then figure it out at home.
That's right. Wow. Well, you just put a bow on that. So yes, we need to know ourselves, especially at Baskin Robbins.
Especially at Baskin Robbins.
Especially Baskin Robbins. And I think, so why do we need to know ourselves? Because we want to, if we know what we have to work with, then we know what we can make, we know what we can change, we know what we can start, stop, continue. And in my coaching practice, I use a framework. I created a framework, which I actually created for myself. And I started using it in my coaching, first in the career pieces of coaching. And it's called the Flash Framework. I think we have a graphic on that.
There we go.
There we go. The Flash Framework. So it's an acronym because I love acronyms to help my memory. So the F stands for find. And find, that's what we were doing the last few shows, as we were talking about how to learn more about yourself and document yourself. The L stands for learn. The A stands for action. The S stands for stop. And the H stands for happy. And happiness is actually going to be the rest of our show. But I'll just talk quickly about the Flash Framework. So basically it's, I use it to help people figure out, okay, what else do they need to discover? What do they need to document about themselves and their values and their interests and their experiences? And, what do I need to learn on top of that so I can do the things that I want to do? And then what is my action plan to do that? So find, learn, create an action plan, and stop is checking in with yourself. And, you would decide what cadence that is. Maybe it's weekly, maybe it's monthly. Check in with yourself and see if your plan is working and how it's working. And then the happy part is every time you complete an action, it's really good to celebrate it because those actions, they stack up, they help us keep our momentum, and you can keep going on your action plan. And it's never written in stone. It's always a plan that you can change based on any new information you get from these checkpoints that you do with yourself, or however any other new information comes in. So that is the Flash Framework. We can talk more about that on another episode, but I wanted to bring it up today to say, part of the things that we've been doing, getting to know ourselves, well, this is what you can do with it. You can use it to start your action plan, figure out the things that you want to change, and live your best life.
Well, can they find out more at your website, mkranger.com? I mean, is there more information about it there? Or
not right now. So I don't have the Flash Framework fully fleshed out. But what I will do is I will create a document that has it a little bit better articulated.
Okay.
And we can put the link in the description here for this episode.
Okay, excellent. Judy Sweeney Temple, haven't seen her in a while. One of my friends down here. Hi, all. Been much too long. Yes, it's been a long time since I've seen you join us, Judy. Thanks for being here. And of course, Tom Jen is see joy through gratitude. Certainly, you can find and see joy through gratitude. But here's a simple little scenario that I run into every day, Mary, and maybe you've run into this too. You ask somebody something simple. What do you want to have for dinner? I don't care anything. No, but I don't want to decide. The reason I asked you is because I'd like to know if you have any opinions at all. No, whatever you want is fine. Fine. We're going to go have Indian food. No, I don't want Indian food. Well, you know what? Wouldn't life be much simpler if you would simply say, you know what? Let me think about what I want. That's okay. I would like some steak, or I would like chicken, or I would like, any of those things. But people don't do that. They don't know themselves enough to even answer a simple question. What do you want for dinner? Ask a 5-year-old what he wants for dinner. They'll tell you.
Ice cream.
Ice cream, boogers. They know what they want for dinner. They don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
Hot dogs, burgers, whatever. An adult, the first thing we try to do is look for the right answer instead of what our answer is. What is our answer? And I know I've been guilty of that for the majority of my life, is answering questions based upon what I think somebody wants to hear rather than what I really think and feel. And one of the reasons I couldn't is because I didn't know what I thought and felt. Does that sound familiar to you?
It is. And I think we put a lot of filters in between that child inside us that does know the answer right away, and all the filters have accumulated like wrappings on a like a gobstopper, all the layers that we have to break through to get to that gumball child in the middle of us. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And it's not, I mean, I think it's normal. A lot of people do that. And you know, you and I have done the work to get to know ourselves better and understand what our values are, and hold things up against to our values. And maybe not, you know, for a restaurant. I see a comment there. I can't read the comment.
Yeah. Tom says every night at my house, it's the dinner. What do you want? I don't care. Anything's fine. And well, whenever somebody says anything's fine to me, I think about what is the thing that I know they hate, because that's what I'm going to choose.
Oh,
not
that's
because
so funny.
I even want to, but just to prove a point. You know.
So I do have a suggestion for that. So there's and I can't remember what website it's called, but if you search random choice generator, it gives you the option to type in a bunch of choices, and then it presents you with a wheel, and you just click the button and you spin, and it chooses for you. So that's the interim, you know, stopgap Band-Aid solution there.
Yeah, it's like a magic 8-ball. Remember those?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not going to decide anything. I'm going to leave it up to a child's toy to tell me, or spin a wheel, or roll the dice. But here's the problem with doing those things. Here's the problem with trying to just placate other people, or not figuring out what you really want, is that you're always going to be dissatisfied.
Mm-hmm.
And being dissatisfied creates resentment, and resentment creates pain. And so you wonder, why is my life so painful and so hard to live? It's because you're not living the life that you really want to live. And there's not a person or a thing on this planet that can tell you what that is except you. You know? How
That's
many
right.
people out there?
I agree.
Let's ask a question. I mean, everybody out there listening, thank you all for being here, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
How many of you have been stuck in relationships just because you thought, well, this is as good as it's going to get anyway, and I'm never going to get any better, and I don't even know what the hell I would do if I wasn't with this person. I have no clue, you know, what I would do. How many people have been stuck in those situations? I know I've been there.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And it's not until you start to realize who you are and realizing what you want and recognizing you deserve to live that life. Those are two different things, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are. Yes.
You know, so what we like to promote here on The Life Between is everyone deserves to live their best life. You know, we're not saying that you hurt other people just because, hey, I want your candy, so I'll take it from you. That's not what we're saying. But we're saying everybody does deserve to live their best life and to be who they are. If you're an artist, be an artist. If you're a singer, be a singer. If you're an accountant, be an accountant. God bless you. I'm so sorry you are. But if you are, you are. If it's who you are. But if you're not living that which calls to you from within you, it's a terrible, terrible existence to be in. And like I said, we know that all too well through our own experiences. And we also know the other side of, wow, you know what? I get to be me, and who I am, it ain't so bad.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not the monster I thought I was, because the monster I thought I was based on other people's perceptions, not my own.
Mm-hmm.
So how does somebody get from complete self deprecation and self isolation, or isolation from the self, where we don't know ourselves? How do we get from there to accepting who we are and liking who we are and finding our happiness? How do we get from that point to that point? That's the question, right?
That's the question. And I think, our topic tonight is happiness, and we can definitely answer it in the context of happiness and what happiness means to us and to our audience. And think about the benefits of happiness, what that can do. Think about how to increase happiness. And yeah, we can go from there. And from what you just said, Scott, to me that sounds like when you're in something because you're settling, or you're feeling that discomfort and that dissatisfaction, to me that's a sign of misalignment. Because for me, happiness as um, a feeling, as a state, as a way of life, is when I feel aligned and when I have meaning in my life. So Scott, what would happiness mean to you? Or what does it mean to you now?
Um, Happiness to me, it doesn't mean I go without want, and it doesn't mean I get everything I want, because I think I would, if I ever got everything I wanted, I think I'd be one miserable guy, because most things I want aren't, you know, it's not about that. Happiness to me is to know the things that light me up and put those into my daily life. Moments of music, moments of laughter.
Yeah.
Um, you know, to me, laughter is such an important part of who I am. And if I don't build things into my day and into my life that include um, laughter, sometimes I listen to music, other times I listen to comedy as I go throughout my house, just so I can laugh. And I'm all alone in the house laughing to
Yeah.
myself.
I do that too.
But knowing I need that,
Yeah.
that's really important. So that is how I have to feed those things that light me up and make me happy. Now I can adopt somebody else's stuff, so I can experiment, I should say, or
Hmm.
I'm sorry, I've got a real problem with my light today.
Oh.
As you can see, it's just everywhere, and it's not giving me the best light. So I don't like myself anymore, and I hate
Yeah.
myself. I'm going to quit. No,
Please
I'll
don't.
get, I'll get it fixed. I'm working with one light instead of two, because one of them died yesterday. So
Oh no.
yeah, I'll get another one.
It
So
happens.
anyway, what this all means to me is, for me to be living my best life, I need to know the things that make me happy and make those a
Yeah.
part of my life. Not at the
Yeah.
expense of others, and not the expense of the things that I must do. It's about finding the balance
Hmm.
between what I must do and what I want to do. And I must go to work and I must do certain things.
Yeah. Our responsibilities.
But even in that, am I doing work that fulfills me?
That's
Am
a
I
huge
do
one.
It is huge.
That's
And
huge.
how often we deal with people all the time later in life that have to make changes to their lives for one reason or another.
Yeah.
And what is the first thing you hear is like, well, I've been doing this so long, it's not worth making a change now, or I'm way too invested in this, or,
Yeah.
it's way too late for me.
Hmm.
Um, I even met people who'd say stupid things like, well, life is pain, it's like,
Someone someone said that to me today, not in those exact words, and I said, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't
yeah,
have to be all pain. Of course, there's going to be some pain. We're humans, and we're beasts of burden, right? Like we're built for it. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's an old thing. With the great line from the movie Princess Bride, which makes me laugh every time. Life is pain. Anybody who tries to tell you differently is selling you something. And it's a horrible, horrible way to go through life. Judy's sharing with us. She says, such a great topic for me now, struggling with conflict between taking care of peeps and being the number one, being the nurturer I've always been, and then moving on to my own. my long term and okay, she's moving on to her stuff that she's been putting on hold for years. She's
Good
trying
for
to
you,
stop
Judy.
taking care of everybody else and start taking care of her. I think I'm getting that right in how you wrote that. I totally get that. And we get wrapped up in this thing about we think making other people happy. And of course, it's always nice to help somebody else and make people happy and be of service to other people. But if you aren't doing anything for you, how can you truly be of service? How do you give somebody water out of an empty jug?
Exactly. Yeah, you can't. And self-care has to come into the picture and has to be part of that plan. I take care of my elderly parents. My dad is a dialysis patient, so I have responsibilities there, and it's very easy for me to get fully wrapped up in the elderly care stuff. They only live 20 minutes away from me, and that's part of my self-care. And I saw a therapist this year when a lot of this stuff started, and that was some of the things we agreed on, and some of the things that I agreed or decided to put in place to make sure that I was taking care of myself, so that I could give the best version of myself to them, as well as the other responsibilities I have. So absolutely.
Absolutely. And if I put, I always tell people, I said, you want to have a great day, do one thing nice for somebody else and two things nice for yourself, and you're always going to have a good day. And people think, well, no, I've got to give of myself. And let's see, Judy saying exactly, she's following along with us, and she's right there. Karen sharing that she's grateful that she loves what she does, where she lives, and a great business partner and life partner. And I'm the business partner, and
nice.
And I'm very grateful for Karen as well, and for what we do. But how can I possibly help somebody through the struggles of their life if I have not helped myself first?
You need to be optimal.
If you're in the water up to your ass in alligators, and there's two people saying, "Let me help you," which one do you choose? The person who's already helped themselves into a boat and in a position to help you, or the person who's still floundering around with gators on his ass? Which one are you going to turn to? Which one is going to be of assistance? Now, the guy in the gators might be yelling louder, and he might seem a little more attractive at the moment. But the only person who's going to be able to help me is the one who has saved themselves and done what they need to do. And that was not something I understood my whole life. I fell into that role of people pleaser. The quotes, because there's actually no such thing as people pleasing. If I do something because I want to help somebody, they're fantastic. But people pleasers do it to an excess. Why do they do it? So that people will like them. And if they like them, then I could like myself. And I don't have to do any self-search. All I got to do is look at other people to see how I feel about me. So how many roles have we played in our lives where we've relied on other people to tell us how we should feel about ourselves? Right?
Oh, I think, and I can totally relate to that, Scott, because I know for me, I figured out for myself that I was doing and overdoing and overworking and getting to burnout to do things for other people. And it was because I was trying to prove that I deserved to exist. Like that was a huge thing that came out of my inner work this year, or last year, I guess. Now we're in 2023 now. So that was a huge thing. Like we feel the need that we have to prove ourselves, that we need to prove that we deserve to be here, that we need to prove that we deserve to belong in whatever group that we're trying to get into. And I had heard something in a clubhouse room once from a guy named Marcus Black, and he said, because they were on that topic, he said, everywhere you go, you belong. And I'm not sure where he got that quote from, but I'm going to give the credit to him. And that was, that's the beginning of some of these thoughts and some of these investigations into ourselves to find out, okay, why are we depleted? Well, maybe it's because we're not taking care of ourselves. So that's a great point that you brought up.
Karen Miller's shouting out saying, "Hello, Mary, I found you."
Hi, Karen. That's my dear friend that I've known for, oh my God, I think we're on 22 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. And she just moved away, so it's a lot of electronic communication. Yeah. Thank you for coming, Karen.
Karen, yes, thank you for joining us. Everybody out there, I would love people to share with us if you've got something where you've discovered things about yourself, especially, I mean, it's terrific if you're having those moments in your young adult life, which most young adults don't. But later in life, things that you found out about yourself, you're like, I can't believe I went my whole life without realizing that I like chocolate and not strawberry. Or I can't believe I went my whole life without realizing that I enjoy this kind of music or watching these kind of TV shows, because I've been so busy trying to read and watch and do what everybody else is doing. I forgot to look at what do I really like.
That's huge.
And it's just because I start doing self-discovery doesn't mean abandoning everything that I'm doing at the moment. Some things that I'm doing, they may still be worth doing, just making small adjustments to make sure I take care of myself. I could almost say that, there needs to be a certain amount of self-care each day, I think, for a healthy human being. Don't you think, Mary?
I do think so. And I know both you and Karen teach on the brain chemicals. And some of the things that I say to myself is I need to dose myself every day. And dose is an acronym for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. I almost forgot endorphins. And there are things that we can do to use those brain chemicals. And nobody knows exactly what combination exactly we need, because our brains are unique individually. And there are things that we can do to increase those chemicals and have this elevated mood. And having an elevated mood helps you do a whole bunch of other things. I mean, we've got, it's going to give you optimism. It's going to give you some feelings of satisfaction that we already talked about, but there's also physical benefits too, like it's been shown to lower your blood pressure, reduce stress, calm you down a little bit. It improves immunity, physical as well as psychological immunity, so that you're more resilient. So you're right, Scott, the more you do these things, or some of these things daily, the better you are equipped to get on with tomorrow and the changes that you want to make.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you don't know where you want to go, what happens when you get to the end of your driveway? What happens? You get in your car, you get to the end of the driveway, and if you don't know where you want to go, you're just kind of floundering around. Every once in a while, you might get lucky and come across something in your life that's working for you. But most of the time, it's a crapshoot. And a lot of times, we end up in miserable positions where we don't feel good about ourselves. Dare I say that, I'm in my 50s.
Me too.
I'm not going to speak for you, because it's not what we do.
I'm okay. I'm not afraid to say it.
I'm in my 50s, and I need to say that most of my self-discovery did not happen until my late 40s and 50s, because I was still so busy trying to keep up with the Joneses, which is kind of funny with the last name Jones.
Mr. Jones.
I'm still out there. Yeah. I'm still out there trying to keep up with the Joneses in trying to live a life. And, I always thought being on TV and radio would make me happy. I always thought that's the thing that I'm going to be. But I was so lacking self-awareness that when I finally made it, I just accepted the fact that it's a miserable life, but now I'm in it. I got to stay in it. And it was a miserable life.
Yeah, sunk cost, right? We think about the sunk cost fallacy.
Now, what does that mean then? What does it explain what that means?
Sunk cost fallacy. So just like how you explained it, you think you've been, say, I've been in this job for 10 years. I've invested education. I've invested in my getting promotions and stuff, and I can't change now. Even though you now realize that you're not that person you were 10 years ago when you entered that job, and it doesn't line up with you anymore. But you're going to spend, over our lifetime, we spend 90,000 hours in a job, right? It's a third of our life, of our adult life. 90,000 hours. And you're going to spend more of those 90,000 hours just because you invested all this in it. Now, of course, I would never say to somebody, jump out of this job immediately. Let's prepare. Let's look at it. Let's see what your options are. Let's find out what you can do to bring you to something that aligns more with who you are now and who you might want to be in the future. So yeah, I think the sunk cost fallacy is huge. And there's, people can Google it. There's lots of YouTube videos on that and explaining that it's, really it's okay to say, okay, that's what I did. That was that phase of my life. And now I can move on to the next phase. And, I think because you mentioned, we're in our 50s and we don't have that much time left. Like when you really think about it, how many decades do we actually have that we know we're going to be optimally healthy? So we don't have that much time to experiment too much, which is why there's the value in getting to know each other. And, I had heard something a while back about being impulsive about things and jumping to new situations. And the person had said, it was a play on, don't just stand there, do something, right? That's the saying. And she turned it around and she said, don't just do something, stand there, right? Change it. Stand there, think about it, investigate yourself, figure out what it is that you want, figure out what it is that you don't want. So I just love that. Don't just do something, stand there.
Right.
Beautiful.
Sometimes we do something just for the sake of doing something, but it's not working for us or taking us in the direction we want to be in. And I love how you talk about the investment, because people invest in college. Mm-hmm. Do you use everything you learned in college in your everyday life? No, of course not. But it's the experience of what you learned in college. And most of what you learn in college is how to learn. Most people, if you go to school to be a lawyer, I forgot how many years you have to go, but I think it's at least 6 years of school to get to become a lawyer.
Undergrad and then law school.
So when you come out of there, do you know everything about law? No. That's why law books are filled in every lawyer's office. It's full of books. What did they learn in school? They learned the basics, and then they learned how to learn more, how to look for things, how to do things. So just because you come out of college and it's like you either bring that information with you or you don't. Every one of your experiences you live in your life, it's not a wasted experience unless you don't use it for your benefit moving forward. It doesn't mean you have to remain stuck in it to take the lessons you learned and apply it moving forward. If I've been a businessman for all these years and one day I realize I want to sell smoothies on the beach and that's where I really want to be, well, all of those years as a businessman could still serve me in doing the good things I want to do for me. And it'll help me build a better smoothie shop. It'll help me do those things. So you can still move on and fulfill your dreams. And it doesn't mean your experiences are wasted. The only experiences that are wasted are the ones that you leave behind without learning lessons from them. So if you want the investment, bring the lessons that you learned. Judy is sharing something again. I spent my life being a workaholic and a single mamaholic. I love that term, mamaholic.
Me too. I love
that. Hanging out with all married friends. Finally started enjoying the single life and enjoying going out with new single friends and enjoying live music, etc. And yes, and Judy, we've ended up in the same places sometimes, listening to the same music. There's so many things out there, but you get stuck. I love that mamaholic. We're going to have to steal that.
Single mamaholic, yeah.
Yeah.
I was definitely like that too, Judy. I experienced that as well. And it was a defining moment in my life when, soon after my ex and I divorced, my kid was about 6 and he looked at me one day when I was trying to get him to brush his teeth and he didn't want to. And he looked at me and he said, "When's Happy Mommy coming back?" That broke me, completely broke me. Now, I didn't quite learn my lesson immediately, but every time that phrase came back to me, I was making a conscious decision to not be that momaholic and workaholic. And yeah, so I can relate, Judy.
I listen. I totally understand. I got three terrific kids, and I love every one of them, and I would do anything for them. And I wasn't always the best parent because I was so miserable with myself. I certainly I brought a lot of misery to them as well.
Mm-hmm.
But if everything I'm doing is about them and nothing's about me, what am I going to bring them? Where's the happy dad? Where's fun dad? Where's all of that? The parents who are able to balance that, listen, the kids are the first priority. I get that. But if I'm not up there in the top priority as well, if I don't find space for me, at least in the top three, what am I bringing my kids other than, life is chores, life is this, life is duty. And it's not, that's not what I want to teach my children. We constantly tell our children, what do we tell our children? What should the kid says, what should I be? And it's like, whatever you are, just be happy. That's all I want for you is to be happy. And it's the first lesson and it's the longest lesson we tell our kids throughout their childhood. I just want you to be happy and, do what makes you happy and become what makes you happy. And you can be anything you want to be. And it's and it seems like we're preaching without actually living it because
yeah. And I agree. And I know you bring up the things that happened in your life or the things that you brought into your kid's life, and that's what you were role modeling then. But you now have a good relationship with your kids, right?
Yeah.
And that took cultivating and knowing yourself better so that you could be, the dad that you wanted to be.
I mean, it got so bad to a certain point where I knew I had screwed up enough things where I couldn't even say no to my kids. And I felt guilty and shameful being around my kids. It's like, because I had made so many mistakes. And I did. Listen, part of my background, those of you who don't know, if you don't know, part of my background is alcoholism and addiction. And I spent a lot of years in a bottle and not doing many things in my life very well at all. And my kids, unfortunately, suffered for a lot of that. So I carried around so much guilt and shame. And then I thought, my happiness, I don't deserve to be happy, but I've got to do everything for my kids. And that was almost worse. It was almost worse because now it's like dad's showing up, but he's just he's empty. He's got nothing. He doesn't have any happiness to share. He doesn't have any love to share. He doesn't have any humor. He doesn't have any value. I'm sorry. Somebody without joy in their life and without knowing who they are, they bring very little value to other people. So here I am trying to bring them no value. And it wasn't until I started really working on me and learning about me that I started finding value in me that I said, this I should share with my family. This I should share with my kids. And these are the kind of things. Karen Miller says 2023 is the year for change.
Yay, Karen.
Absolutely. Judy also says, in some ways I feel fortunate. Did it all myself. My son has never met his father, and I put together a fabulous village for him and always harmony in my house. And it's true. And that happens a lot. But obviously from what you're sharing, the harmony in the house was something that you were kind of making all happen. But where was the harmony inside of you? Where was the happiness inside of you? We hear all the time about people who lose it. Sometimes they lose it where they just kind of like walk away from their lives. Sometimes they lose it where they hurt themselves. And, I don't want to go too deep into that because it gets into a very big topic. And one day maybe we'll talk about those kind of things. But people who lose it and everybody looks around and says, what? It seemed like they had everything.
Oh, yes. Because we put the mask on.
Exactly.
We put on that mask. When I revealed only a couple of weeks ago that I'm a person that lives with anxiety and I struggle with a lot of the same things that even my clients do, but I'm working through them just like they are. There was a lot of good feedback and a lot of people saying that they had no idea, including my family, because I hid it. And I actually shared this in a Clubhouse room last night that as soon as I realized I was perpetuating the stereotype and not talking about my own mental health and the issues that I was struggling with, I was perpetuating that stereotype, right? And just saying that it's not right to talk about your mental health. But if we do, and we can all talk about these things, then we're no longer wearing those masks, and people can see us, and
exactly.
we can be seen. That's a basic human need, to be seen. We want to be seen.
So you may ask, while you're sitting out there listening to the two of us and our happy, joy attitude, what the hell difference does it make whether I know I like chocolate or vanilla? What difference does that make? The difference could be monumental. The difference is I know who I am, I know what I like, and I know I can treat myself to things that fulfill me, as opposed to people who simply never know those things about themselves and can't understand. I've got everything that anybody could want. Why am I not happy? And we're talking about the Robin Williams of the world, and we're talking about the Philip Seymour Hoffmans of the world, and we're talking about those people who become self-destructive, even though it's like, you've got everything anybody could want, but it's obviously not what they wanted for themselves or what they needed for themselves. And that's the danger we face. Judy just made a great statement here, and this is actually very, very important. I was happy in my work and as a mom. The struggle's very recent for me. As long as I'm doing that role that I'm decided to play and it's working, I'm fine. But the minute you take that role away and I'm left with, now I'm not the everyday mom or dad. Now I'm not the everyday this. What am I? If you take this away from me, what am I? And that's where people get lost. It's like, well, if I'm not a mom, I mean, you are so many things. Being a mom might be number one on the list, and it should be. I agree with that. Being a dad should be number one on the list. And dads need to learn this lessons a whole lot more than moms in this world, that it should be number one on your list. But you should also know who you are as a human being and as a person, and know what you like, so that when those moments arise where dad's not needed, you're not sitting there like a bump on a log saying, I've got nothing in my life. You know? You've got to know yourself.
Yeah. And I can relate to that, Scott, and to what Judy said too, because a couple of months ago, my son started driving, and I was that mom that would drive the kids. And then all of a sudden, like in a split second, it all changed. I'm not driving him anywhere. I don't have to pick him up from anywhere. And I felt that loss, and I felt that tiny piece of my identity that I had built as a mom, fall away. But then I realized, oh, you know what? I have all this extra time. I can sleep better, not knowing or not waiting for the phone to ring, because I know he's going to call me at 2 a.m. for a pickup. Totally. Things change, and it changes how we see ourselves sometimes.
And this is so especially true in relationships, I believe. Many times, let's talk about first dates. just to give an example of how easy it is to lose yourself. Now, I'm going to talk about from my perspective, and then you could give me your perspective, Mary. Normally, a guy's perspective is not, I can't wait until I tell this person about me. The perspective is, I can't wait to impress this person. I can't wait to tell this person things that will impress them. It's not about me. Now, if some of the things were about me, bonus. But most of the time, you show up on a bicycle and, you show up to the coffee house on a bicycle, and while you're sitting there drinking coffee, it just blurts out of your mouth, my Maserati is in the garage. That's why I'm riding up. Never thinking that one day, if this works out, you're going to have to show them the Maserati. Sitting there and saying, she might say, I love foreign films. I love watching foreign films, which is a stupid thing, because who wants to go to a movie to read? Hello, where you got to read all the subtitles. That's great. If I want to read, I'll read a book. If I go to a movie, I don't want to think, but because I want to impress them, I'm like, oh, I love Kurosawa and I love foreign movies and I love that stuff. Next thing I know, I'm sitting in a foreign movie with this person and I'm miserable. But when we first get together with people, we tend to not, and most of the time we're doing it just because we don't have enough value in who we are. I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe that what I am and what I think and what I feel and what I like is good enough to share with other people. I need to either embellish it or completely fabricate it so that somebody will like me.
Mm.
And that's, why do we end up in bad relationships and in relationships that don't work? Because people stop being honest. And once you're not
Mm-hmm.
honest long enough, you start to believe the lie more than you believe how you feel about yourself. And next thing you know, a bad marriage isn't just a bad marriage. It becomes a bad relationship with yourself, you know?
Yeah,
Uh,
I
so
completely agree with that.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Karen says, what's a first date?
Yeah. Karen. So Karen, Karen and I know a lot about dating and first dates and 100 first dates and yeah, many coffee dates. And so I can relate to some of what you said. And I've been on dates before, Scott, that I know the person is not being completely honest and they are embellishing a little bit. Um, and I think, and I've dated people like that as well too, not just the first date, but actually had a relationship. And it's like, how long can you keep up that act? Because either you're going to adopt and become that persona, which is very misaligned to yourself, or at some point you're going to have to drop that mask. And then what is your partner going to see? They're going to see the real you. So how about we show up
Right.
as the real us in the first place?
But the only way they could do
Go
that, Mary,
ahead.
is if they believe, if the only way they could do that is if they believe that the real them is worth knowing. And the only way you're going to know that the real you is worth knowing is by getting to know you and embracing who you are. And that means embracing the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything else. But especially that thing that makes you happy. Listen, there's a lot of people out there
Mm-hmm.
that I talk to a lot of people. They love fishing. There's people that love fishing. They think fishing. They're like, the happiest I am is when I'm on a boat on a lake with the fish and the line and the worms and all the stinkiness and all the, all the. To me, that's a living hell. Okay, to me, that's a living hell. It just, I've fished. I've gone out on a shark hunt. I've gone deep sea fishing. I've gone salmon fishing. I've done all of that. It was cool to experience it. But then when I got done with that activity, I said, that's not for me.
Done. Yeah.
That's for me. But if I repeatedly went fishing with somebody over and over again, I could create a habit of going fishing and actually create a habit that I become almost addicted to. It becomes such a big part of me, but it does not fulfill me. So it becomes a hollow gesture. Relationships are the same way. If I keep telling the same things over and over again, if I keep, next thing you know, I've just spent the last 10 years every week going to see a foreign film and hating every single one of them I've ever seen.
So let me ask you this then. So why not present the truth and present what you really like at the beginning of the date? It's because you're afraid that they're not going to like you. But then that person already doesn't like the real you. They just don't know it yet.
Well, you're assuming they don't. You don't know that
or you're assuming they don't. Yeah. And I think being polarizing with our language a little bit too when we're getting to know someone, so that we can repel the people that really aren't for us, because they're not going to like the things that we like. And not that everybody has to like everything about each other, but some shared things, some things that dovetail a little bit. So polarizing is a good way,
absolutely. But you have to start with self-knowledge.
Yeah.
You have to start with, it doesn't mean you got to sit there and say, okay, first date, here's my list of things that I like. If you don't like these things, then leave the table. All right. I mean, it would be an easy way to do things. You could simply you just go to the singles club wherever you go and just hand out little resumes or
that's the dating profile. That's what your profile's for. Exactly. To weed out people.
It's online dating in person. You just hand them a paper and say, listen, before we even sit down, and I'm not even going to waste money on a cappuccino for you until you agree to at least 85% of my likes. It
That's
doesn't
so
work that
funny.
way. And besides, nobody's really got the balls to do that because most people are just so unsure of themselves and they believe, if I don't believe in the fact that it's okay for me to love music the way I love music, it's okay for me to love
Mm-hmm.
art the way I love art, it's okay for me to love binge watching crime shows on TV, it's okay for me to, stay up late and wake up early, and it's okay for me to do these things. If I don't believe that's okay for me, how can anybody else ever believe it anyway? So the
That's a
first
great
thing,
point.
stop looking for relationships when the first relationship you need to fulfill is you. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't like who you are, it's because you're not living who you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Not supposed to be by anybody else, but who you are inside. Let me change that. Supposed to be is kind of a bad way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not living authentically to who you are, it's like somebody who, well, let's go for the obvious one. We see this a lot. Somebody who's lived married, had kids, and did all this their whole life, but in the back of their heads, they're gay. They're
Yeah,
attracted.
that happens.
But I'm
Yep.
going to live the lie.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, one day they look back and they think about, okay, listen, there are some. I'm glad I had kids, and I'm glad this happened. I'm glad, but there's a whole big part of my life that I never was true to my authentic self. I ignored the one person in my life who's more important than any other one, and it's me. I never
Mm-hmm.
fulfilled who I am on the inside. And what a feeling now when you start to make that change, you start to realize, holy cow, the air's a little sweeter, the sun's a little brighter, the world's a little better place because I feel better.
Yeah, and you're definitely lighter, and it goes back to the self knowledge that we've been talking about all these our episodes here. All roads lead to Rome, and Rome is
Yeah.
self knowledge. We all end up there at some point. I hope.
I hope so, and I hope this show, because we're almost at the end of the show already, and
Oh my goodness! Wow.
yeah, we've got a few minutes left. I'm so glad everybody joined us. So apologies for the technical issues. Usually
Yeah.
it's my
Sorry.
end. This time it was on Mary's.
My
It doesn't
turn.
matter. It doesn't matter because we're still out here because we're sharing what we share because it's important to us, and perhaps it'll be important to somebody else. If you're looking around at your life and you're saying, how did I end up here? Why am I here? Or if you use words like I'm stuck or I'm in a rut
Mm-hmm.
or, this is just the way it has to be. Well, maybe you need to look inside and figure out maybe there's some things you should be doing that are going to make your life a little bit more bearable.
Mm-hmm.
So many
Bearable
times,
and empower you to change, right? It's not
absolutely.
just living with what's going on, but realizing that we all have this superpower of choice, and we can pick we can pick a path. We can pick a different path or a revised path
Right.
for the rest of our lives. And even a year from now, if you go on that path and it's not working for you and you're still feeling misalignment, you can change that too based on any new information that you get about the world or about yourself.
I'm
We have
so
the power.
I'm so glad you said that because I was just about to make that exact same point. We're right there with
Oh.
it. Is that figuring out who you are? If I figured out who I was when I was 30, who I am at 50 is a totally different person. It changes,
Yeah.
it grows. I would not eat Brussels sprouts as a child. I would do anything I could to avoid eating Brussels sprouts. I'd rather die than eat a Brussels sprout. And
Oh
pretty
boy.
much through even my teens and my early 20s, Brussels sprouts I thought were the worst. And then I started to discover if you cook them this way, and if you char them a little bit with a butter and garlic and a drizzle of olive oil, or
Oh,
even white truffle oil over them is fantastic.
yum.
Something it's like now it's like I'm actually at the store saying, "Oh, I'm going to get some Brussels sprouts to go with the steak." And I can't believe I'm doing it because my taste change and who I am changes, and I embrace that and I look for new things all the time. Thank you, Judy, saying yes, roasted, yes,
Roasted. Oh, I'm hungry now, Scott. My
yeah,
goodness.
yeah. So am I. My dinner's still in the oven because I lost track of time today. I'm still trying to find out who I am at 60. Karen says.
I got you,
Wait,
Karen.
wait.
You
Is
don't
she
worry.
Is she alone, Mary? Trying to figure out who she is at 60. Is she alone?
She's moved a few hours away from me now.
No, I mean, is she alone in being the only 6-year-old who
Oh,
doesn't know who they
no.
are?
No, there's tons. I know people in their 80s that still don't know who they are. But Karen's doing the work. She's experimenting. And, I won't give too many details, Karen, don't worry. But yeah, I think, we all get to do the work, and it doesn't happen in one day. Like following the Flash framework that I created, you don't finish it in one day and you go back to it. Like mine's a binder. I Flash frameworked myself, and mine's a binder. So it doesn't always happen in one day. That's for sure.
And you know what? Here's the thing. If you're still breathing, you should still be learning and learning about yourself. As much time as you spend learning about the world and studying history and reading about other people and watching the news about what's going on in other people's lives and watching movies for fantasies written by other people, look at yourself just as much. Spend as much time looking inward. Do some free writing. Do some drawing. Take a walk in a new place and try different things.
Or in nature. Nature.
Nature. And that's important to you. And if I were to take that and say, now, okay, Mary, I'm going to find you the perfect guy. You're going to be in a perfect relationship, but he hates nature and doesn't ever want to go outside. And then you say, well, to make him happy, I won't ever go outside again.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
But it's almost
that's
that
exactly
choice
what I would
that we
say.
make.
So I think
that's the kind of choice people make, though. They give up part of who they are.
And it does.
And what would happen if that happened? If somebody said to you, no more outside, you're an indoor wife now. That sounded so horrible the way I said that. But how resentful
I would
and how
say,
angry would that make you?
Bye.
Bye.
I would say it wouldn't make me angry. Be like, okay, thank you for showing me who you are, and I believe you, and bye. So other things that we can do to increase our happiness other than smiling and smiling at each other, because me seeing somebody else smile elevates my mood a little bit. Connecting with other people, that's another way that can elevate our mood. And focusing on the present, that's something that can help us get into grounding ourselves. And from that place, that's a way better place to make decisions, especially life decisions. So the more elevated your mood is, the happier you are, the better choices you can make that will align with you.
Karen Miller agrees with us. Yes, absolutely.
I love you, Karen.
Sandy, mom, as I like to call her, is being authentic and fulfilled is ongoing and challenging. Of course it is.
Yes. That's beautiful, Sandy, mom.
You can book a plane. You can get on a plane. You could travel the world. And I don't care if you go see the Colosseum. I don't care if you go see Stonehenge. I don't care if you go to see Victoria Falls. I don't care if you go see the North Pole. I don't care where you go. It will never come close to the journey that you take when you start to discover the parts of yourself that you've hid from yourself. The things, because what happens is you unleash a whole new life. I
love that word, unleash.
Yes, you unleash, because it's been, as a child, you knew who you were. A 5-year-old knows exactly who he is. He knows exactly what he likes, and he knows exactly what he doesn't like. An adult doesn't know any of those things. They know what they should do. They know what they are supposed to do. They know all of those things, but they forget what they are. And you have to rediscover that. So while you're booking your trips and you're taking all that stuff, take a trip into yourself every once in a while, and really explore it and start to embrace the things you find about yourself. I think we want to continue this into next week. And I would love to have everybody out there, please join us. Share this with your friends and have them join us as well. I want to know about some things that you tried or things that you discovered that you never thought of before. It's like, I never thought that I liked doing these things, and accidentally I just found myself doing something and I realized, wow, I've been missing this my whole life. And I'd love to talk more about that. And maybe even, Mary, you and I come up with some exercises on how you can, little experiments you could do to help find out what you like and what you don't like and who you are. What do you think?
I love experiments. That's wonderful.
Okay.
It's wonderful.
So
yeah.
We're gonna be the Bill Nye the self-knowledge guy next week.
Yeah. Oh, I missed that show. That's a great show.
I know.
Oh,
I know. He was pretty cool. Mary, we've hit our hour.
I know.
It's unbelievable. All the great people, Judy, Karen, Sandy, Lynn joining us earlier, Tom and everybody out there who joined us and people who are listening. And thank you so much for giving us your time. And please remember that if you want to have a great day, I'm going to remind you one more time, do one thing nice for somebody else and two things nice for yourself. And you'll never go to bed in a bad mood when you live that way. There we go. Same place, same time.
Thank you.
Now that Karen, yes, now that you found us, same place, same time next week.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. This has been The Life Between All or Nothing with myself and Scott Jones. And I believe in you. I believe in all of you. And we are here to help.
We will catch you next time. Thanks a lot for watching. As always, Mary Kay, a pleasure.
Pleasure.